Imagine looking up at the night sky. But instead of, the usual stars scattered across the dark, picture this, a huge, gleaming halo of light, bands of silver and gold arching horizon to horizon, so bright that night. Well, it never really gets properly dark. And this isn't Saturn we're talking about, it's Earth. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into a really mind-bending what if. What if our own planet had rings like Saturn? We've been exploring excerpts from Earth's rings, A World Transformed, and it paints this picture of just how profoundly that would change, well, everything. Our planet, our history, how we live. Our mission today is to pull out the biggest insights, the most surprising facts about what a ringed Earth would actually be like, from how it looks to how it changes everything. So get ready for a perspective shift.
It's a fantastic thought experiment, isn't it? Taking something so iconic from Saturn and just plopping it right here.
Yeah.
What really jumps out is how deep those changes go. It touches every single part of life, making you rethink so much we just accept about our ringless world.
Yeah, and it all starts with just the view, the visual spectacle. We all know Saturn's rings, right? That incredible shimmering thing stretching, over 280,000 kilometers wide, made of ice and dust, reflecting sunlight. The source calls them cosmic jewels. You can even see them with a small telescope. They just blow the faint rings of Jupiter, Uranus out of the water. So imagine that kind of grandeur, but around us. How does that change what you see when you just look up?
Oh, it'd be totally omnipresent, a constant marvel.
Hmm.
If you were standing near the equator, the rings wouldn't be some distant object. They'd literally tower overhead like a colossal bridge right across the whole sky. During the day, they'd probably shine pale white or maybe golden against the blue, and they'd cast these moving shadows across the ground. Then at night, wow, they wouldn't just be visible, they'd glow. Softly, but way brighter than the Milky Way. The whole sky bathed in this kind of silvery light.
So for a huge part of the planet, you'd never get true darkness, ever. And if you traveled, say, north or south towards the poles,
Right, they'd start to dip lower on the horizon. They'd look more like these ghostly, shimmering ribbons hanging low in the sky. And the key thing is, this isn't like a comet or an aurora, something temporary. This would be permanent. The most beautiful, but maybe also the most inescapable backdrop for everyone all through history.
exactly, that constant glow. It leads to some really profound consequences, doesn't it? Especially for how we see the universe. Our sources really emphasize this. Earth would never be truly dark. Like you said, even on moonless nights, that ring shine creates this perpetual twilight. It would basically drown out most of the stars we see.
It's a staggering thought. Imagine growing up without ever knowing that pure inky blackness we use for stargazing.
Hmm.
So you have to wonder, without those really dark skies, would our early understanding of the cosmos have stayed Earth-focused for much, much longer? Would the whole idea of a huge universe beyond our sky have taken longer to sink in?
Yeah, would it have fundamentally changed philosophy, even religion? It's not just about, when astronomy got started, but how we even thought about our place. Like, did we feel smaller or maybe grander with this thing overhead?
It's a critical question.
Oh, yeah.
If you can't easily see constellations, do things like horoscopes even get invented? Does early navigation rely on different cues? And what about Galileo? Would his discoveries have happened when they did if he didn't have that dark, star-filled canvas to point his telescope at? Our whole perception could have been altered. Maybe the rings would feel like a ceiling, keeping us more focused downwards, delaying that outward look for centuries.
Okay, but for something this amazing to even exist, there has to be a pretty dramatic origin story, right?
Yeah.
How does Earth get rings like that in the first place?
Well, the usual way rings form is pretty destructive, actually. It happens when a moon gets too close to its planet. It crosses something called the Roche limit. There's basically this boundary where the planet's gravity, its tidal forces, are stronger than the moon's own gravity holding it together. So the planet literally rips the moon apart. For Earth, that limit is tens of thousands of kilometers up.
So a moon gets too close, gets shredded.
Exactly, into countless pieces of ice and rock and dust. And those fragments, they can't really clump back together into a moon because of those same tidal forces. So they end up spreading out, circling the planet endlessly, constantly colliding, grinding down into these shimmering streams. That's your ring system. And here's a really crucial point the source makes. If Earth had giant rings formed this way, it probably wouldn't have our moon.
Ah, right. Because the moon would either have been the thing that got shredded, or maybe it would have been ejected or never formed stably in the first place?
Something like that. And losing the moon is a huge deal. Our moon does a lot more than just light up the night. It stabilizes Earth's axial tilt. Without it, our planet's wobble could become, well, Completely chaotic.
Meaning, what, wild seasons?
Wildly unpredictable seasons, yeah.
Huh?
Ice ages and scorching heat waves could just arrive without warning. It would make developing stable agriculture, building long-term civilizations, incredibly difficult, maybe impossible in the way we know it.
So you've got this unstable climate and these massive rings casting shadows. That sounds like a recipe for a very different Earth map.
Completely redrawn maps. You'd have these massive bands of shadow moving across continents. Some regions might be stuck under the darkest parts of the rings, freezing in perpetual shade, never getting direct sun. Others, maybe areas outside the main shadows, could actually bake in relentless, possibly even intensified, sunlight reflected off the rings. It changes everything where you can grow food, where people migrate, just basic survival. You'd get deserts and ice zones dictated purely by the rings above.
And it wouldn't just be a fixed shadow pattern, would it? The angle changes with the seasons.
Exactly. The rings would introduce totally new seasonal effects on top of whatever chaotic wobble we might have. Like in summer, when the sunlight hits the rings more directly, you could get these huge shimmering reflections beaming extra heat down onto certain parts of Earth. But in winter, you could be plunged into even deeper, colder than normal conditions if you're under the ring shadow. Farmers wouldn't just track sun and rain. They'd have to become experts in how the ring glow and the shadows wax and wane through the year. It adds this whole other layer of complexity to life.
Wow. Okay, let's think about ancient civilizations living under this celestial crown. It's just mind-boggling. How does that shape culture, myths, their whole worldview?
It's almost hard to imagine what wouldn't be shaped by it. Think about ancient structures. Maybe the pyramids aren't aligned to stars, but to where the ring shadow falls on the solstice. Or Stonehenge. Maybe it doesn't mark the sunrise, but frames the highest point of the ring arch. Myths would surely be full of it. A celestial bridge, maybe? Or a stairway for the gods, the crown of heaven? Religions could be built entirely around interpreting the light and shadow play in the sky.
And specific locations, maybe where the rings looked brightest or cast a unique shadow, could become incredibly sacred sites, maybe even fought over.
Entirely possible. And think about the psychological impact. What does living under this constant, immense, beautiful thing do to the human spirit? Would people feel more connected to the cosmos, like we lived on a truly special, adorned world? Or would it feel oppressive, like being trapped under this vast, unblinking eye, a constant reminder of forces way beyond our control?
That's a fascinating split. You'd have artists and poets obsessed with capturing it, dedicating their lives to its beauty, songs, dances reflecting the rings.
Absolutely. But it's not all just beauty and wonder. The source points out that these rings wouldn't be completely harmless.
No, definitely not. You mentioned the collisions, little pieces spiraling down.
Constantly. Way more shooting stars than we see now. Most would just burn up, tiny specks, but larger chunks. They could definitely survive entry. You'd have occasional impacts, maybe even small disasters. Cities might actually need protection. Like massive shields or domes become a normal part of architecture in high-risk zones. Life carries this constant, low-level, unpredictable threat from above.
And add that to the potential for chaotic climate from the lack of a moon. It paints a picture of a much tougher existence. Establishing stable societies seems like it would be a monumental challenge.
A huge challenge.
Yeah.
That combination of climate instability and regular impacts.
Yeah.
Yeah, a very different path for civilization.
But okay, even with the risks, the rings would also be useful,
impact.
right? A
Yeah.
guide.
Oh, absolutely. They'd be the ultimate navigational tool. Sailors wouldn't just use stars. They'd navigate by the unchanging arc and glow of the rings. Traders on land could time journeys by the predictable movement of the ring shadows. Explorers might chase the best views of the rings, like people chase eclipses or auroras today. The rings become your calendar, your compass, your clock, and woven into the very heartbeat of your culture, ever present.
So let's jump forward. Modern life. Picture today's world, but with those rings. Skyscrapers in New York, Tokyo, London, framed by these golden arcs. How does that change our current world?
I mean, visually, it's everywhere. Every photograph, every movie, every advertisement has the rings in it. They dominate branding, politics, probably even fashion. Tourism would be massive, right? People traveling just to see the rings from different latitudes, different angles. Urban planning, architecture, it would all revolve around maximizing or interacting with the view.
But there's a huge catch for our modern era, isn't there? Space.
Yeah, that's a big one. Our current way of doing space exploration, satellites, rockets, it becomes incredibly difficult, maybe nearly impossible. You'd have to launch through these dense, dangerous fields of debris, threading the needle through gaps, if there even are stable gaps. The constant collisions within the rings. Putting up a space station like the ISS probably couldn't do it. Humanity might effectively be stuck on Earth, gazing up at this incredible beauty we can't easily reach or explore beyond.
That's quite a limitation.
Yeah.
Stuck looking up. But humans are resourceful. Would we just accept being grounded? Or would we find ways to use the rings?
That's where it gets interesting again. Maybe necessity forces innovation. Perhaps we develop totally different kinds of propulsion, something shielded, designed to navigate debris, or maybe even build launch systems through the rings somehow, like giant protected tunnels. And beyond just getting past them, the rings themselves could become a resource. They're mostly ice, right?
Right, ice and dust.
So you could potentially mine that ice for water. That's crucial for any kind of large-scale off-world settlement. Maybe harvest other particles for building materials in orbit. It could spur completely novel ways of thinking about construction in space.
So the rings go from being a barrier to maybe a new frontier, a resource base right on our doorstep.
Exactly. Thinking bigger, maybe the rings become the foundation for future expansion, not away from Earth, but around it. We talk about megastructures now, things like Dyson swarms or orbital habitats. With rings, maybe those ideas develop differently, even faster. You can anchor huge solar collectors to ring material, drawing power from the reflected sunlight. They could become, like the source suggests, a kind of scaffolding for humanity's future, a cosmic infrastructure built into our home system.
That's pretty wild. Let's just for a moment paint that picture of daily life. A city on a ringed Earth. Dawn isn't just a sunrise. It's described as silver fire across the horizon as the rings catch the first light. Farmers working fields bathed in the shimmering reflected glow. Kids playing, chasing not one shadow, but two their own, and the one cast by the rings, maybe.
Yeah, or noticing how the shadows interplay. And at night, instead of maybe watching TV, families gather outside to watch the golden arcs shift and shimmer. Maybe there are huge cultural festivals centered around the rare times the rings are edge-on or shadowed, creating brief moments of true darkness. Those dark nights become sacred, special, a time for storytelling. It's a world that's just utterly transformed by light, beautiful but so profoundly different from our own experience.
And I think that's the core of it. More than the science, more than the survival challenges, the rings would be this constant daily reminder of our place in the universe. Earth wouldn't feel like just another planet. It would feel like, I don't know, the crown jewel wrapped in this celestial halo.
It really underscores how much our sky shapes us. We don't have rings, obviously. We have the stars, the Milky Way, that vast dark canvas. But imagining rings helps us appreciate how deeply the heavens influence our culture, our science, our sense of wonder. Saturn, in a way, shows us a path not taken.
Yeah, a glimpse of what might have been. It's a powerful thought. Maybe, in some other reality, some alternate universe, Earth does have that crown. And maybe one day humans will actually travel to an exoplanet and see rings like that stretching across an alien sky, and they'll finally know what that feels like.
And you have to wonder, looking back from that ringed world, what parts of our reality, our familiar Earth, would seem completely alien and unrecognizable to them?
That is definitely something to ponder. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll explore another fascinating topic in our next deep dive.